everybody. Good morning. Or, well,
Hello, not yet.
it is.
It is? Oh, okay.
It is morning, but if you're watching this not in the morning, so good afternoon or good evening.
Yeah, hi everyone. This is ACDC, Araceli and Colette, all things real estate investing and finances. Welcome. Today is a beautiful Wednesday. We have mountains behind it. So my name is Araceli and I'm a transition wealth advisor. I specialize in working with single professional women to rearrange their finances so they can get more cash flow, they can pay their debt quicker and retire faster. I'm also a real estate investor, so that's why we're here to share something with you. I'm here with my partner, Colette. Colette, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Colette Raba. I am a real estate broker in the GTA. I like working with families. I like working with single people or people that are going through transition like a divorce. There is a lot of real estate out there. There's a lot of real estate agents out there. It's really up to you who you choose, but really it's all about knowledge, about experience, about information that we can give you. And this is why we're here, because we want to share information with you. And today we have a great topic on, and we both get questions all the time about real estate, but also about investing and in finances and how to manage it all. And that's why we like to bring you this information together, because you can't have one without the other. If you don't have any
that's
money,
right.
you can't buy a house.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you have a house, it can make you money as an
absolutely. So I truly believe that real estate is one of the best investments out there. And today we have a question that it's been asked a few times this week. Is, should I sell now or should I buy something in the GTA?
But first, let's talk about our backgrounds, because we wanted to talk about that. We haven't had these backgrounds yet, and it's very, very important. Well, maybe not very, very important, but interesting why we chose these backgrounds. So do you want to tell us your background, Araceli?
Yeah, so let me show you my background. Let me just move away so people can see it. If you see, that is actually a church, and that is, this picture was taken 10 minutes from where I was born. And in the city of Puebla, Mexico. So that is actually a volcano, and it's called the Popocatépetl. So it's a very interesting view, if you can say, that we have two big mountains behind it, but that's why I chose this background today. I'm a little bit missing home, so I wanted to have that behind me.
Beautiful. Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I'll have to go there with you one day. So you can
absolutely. I can't wait to start flying again somewhere.
Yeah, I know. So why we chose our backgrounds, because they're mountains, and sometimes when we look at our finances, we feel it's really, we have to climb this mountain, and it's really daunting, and it's something that how do you do it? How am I going to do it? How am I going to get it? And there's some cultures that believe having a mountain in your background makes you feel really good because it's behind you. So the struggle and the hardship of climbing a mountain is behind you. So if you have that mindset with your finances, or your goals that you want to achieve to actually buy a house, the one thing that we both agree on is you need a plan. So you don't just climb a mountain, and you don't just buy a house. You have to plan it out. You have to think about it. You have to, get the right tools. You have to talk to the right people. You have to, have a team sometimes. So this way, and then that way, and it takes time. So when you think of buying a house, or really figuring out your finances to have the goal of buying a house, the climbing of the mountain, we are both here for you to answer your questions, to help you get to the top of the mountain or buy that property, or to really figure out your finances. So that's why so that was the big metaphor that I really, really wanted to share with you today, because it can be, and I struggle with it too sometimes, where I don't know, I am commission sales. Sometimes it's difficult to plan, because I don't know month to month, my finances might look very different.
Yeah. So one of the things that Colette, I want to interrupt you there and tell you a little bit about that, because I'm also in commission. So
Right.
yeah, even though it seems daunting and it seems like you don't know where you're going to be next month because you don't have a fixed income coming in. I tell people, you need a financial planner more than anybody else.
Exactly.
Because there are some things that you have that are fixed expenses. If you're paying a mortgage or rent, utilities, your cell phone, all of that costs money. If you have the awareness of what it's costing you every month, then you have a target to meet.
Right.
And it makes it a lot easier, because if you know that you didn't hit that sales quota that you had that month, then you know you're going to be short. But if you don't understand how much money you need to sustain your lifestyle, then it's a lot harder to plan ahead. So don't say, oh, well, until I have this amount of money, I'm going to start planning. It's the opposite, because I do believe something, that if you don't know how to manage $1, you will never be able to manage $1,000 or $10,000. So
right.
Try to think it that way.
Yeah, and the same thing, that if you can save $1, you can save $10,000. So it's the same format, it's the same concept, and that's why the mountain doesn't seem so high. Look at my mountain's shrinking. You see that? It's getting smaller. It's all mindset, and it's really something that when you do have that plan in place, that you know that you can get to that point and you have a goal. Things like COVID happen. Oh my gosh. And then like everything sort of, goes crazy and your finances get affected. So you have to plan for that as well. So these are things that, we're here for you. We want you to not feel like you're alone in this. A lot of people are feeling the same way. And even though the market is like, really, what did I say? Oh, I read you a headline this morning. Toronto housing prices hit new record with detached homes averaging 1.2 million, but downtown condos bucked the trend. So like there's this thing where people get so nervous about 1.2 million. That's an average, right? So there's higher and then there's lower when it's an average. So don't freak out. But ultimately, before you decide on buying a house, and this is the question, should I sell or should I buy a property in the GTA? Guess what? I can't answer that. Araceli can't answer that until we see your finances. So
that's right. So one of the things that we want to tell you is that we don't know what the markets are going to be. We understand that over the long term, the properties always will appreciate and keep up with inflation. What is it going to do? We don't know. The markets are so upside down that you don't know if the houses are going to go down, they're going to go up. But in the long term, we're always seeing events like COVID. We had 9/11, we have the 2008 crash, we had the Great Depression.
The US election.
Exactly. There is always going to be some events happening in the world. We have the tsunamis, so many things happening. There's always going to be something. And, I don't want to be negative, but we always go through with them, right? So there's always a down and then we'll come back up. That's what the markets do. And that's what basically life is. And that's what happens to us too. We go through different transitions in life. Sometimes, we get married and we're super happy. And then 6 years later, we're divorced. And,
or we get divorced and then we're super happy.
Exactly. The opposite. That's right.
Yeah.
So all of these things happen. You have a baby, you have a parent that passes away, you have maybe some money coming in that you didn't expect. There's always all of these things. And I think to me, these transitions are excitements, right? And we need to embrace them and find a solution to get through them. But if you don't have a plan, it's harder to do.
Right. And I think the hardest, the biggest question, the hardest thing that people, I think, struggle with are when personal hardships happen. Like not a divorce, but I'm talking about like a car accident or, a house fire or things like that where we're not expecting it. I don't think
Nobody is.
nobody is. So those things, to have that plan, you know, this is aside from buying or selling a house, but you have to be safe and you have to have insurance. You have to make sure that you are okay if you handle, you know, for a few months at least, that you can handle something like that.
Correct.
So I think Canadians, if I'm not mistaken, Canadians are a little bit, in general, and really generally speaking, are a little bit more conservative when it comes to spending than Americans.
Well, when it comes down to property, yes, because the way that we are qualifying people to get properties, it's a little bit harder than it is in the
my
US.
gosh.
So
Right.
you basically are being forced to be conservative in that regards. We're not very much conservative about discretionary spending. So if you do have a credit card and then you decide to go, oh, I have a limit here, let's spend it. So
Right.
what happens is the same. You gotta have a plan even for spending something in your credit card. The plan is how you're gonna pay for that, right?
Right. Right.
And if you make a big purchase with several thousands of dollars and you lose your job, COVID happens, and then you lose your job, do you have a plan to pay it back? So that's what is, I'm very conservative that way, to say, you know what, if I have a big purchase, either I save the majority of it and then put a little bit on debt, but not put the entire purchase on it, or maybe just wait until I can buy it all together.
Right.
But besides the point, the time to buy a house, the best time to buy a house was 20 years ago. And the other next time, the best time is now.
Right.
So
I agree.
if you are prepared, obviously you need to sit down and look at your finances. What is it that you can afford? What is the income that you are sure that it's coming in every month? Plus, obviously, the down payment. The down payment is actually one of the things that it has to stop people from buying property. Because now, before we used to buy with, you know, $10,000, $20,000.
You could put a down payment on your credit card, from what
Exactly.
I've heard. From what I've
If
heard.
you had a line of credit, you would be able to buy another property with that.
Right.
And now
Yeah.
it's just not possible anymore, because now it is hundreds of thousands of dollars that you need to give for a down payment.
Well, okay. So this is the question too that I've gotten from somebody recently. Somebody who has, so it's a couple, and they both have properties already. So one was inherited, one was a townhouse, or like a condo. So they want to start their lives together, and they thought, okay, now we have these two birds in the hand. That's one of my favorite sayings. You have a bird in the hand.
Yeah.
We have two properties now. We want to sell both of them and buy one house, and we're going to, you know, live together. So the why is always, you know, I scratch my head literally and figuratively, because I want to say, like, what's your why? Why do you want to sell both properties? Why can't you both live in one of them together? And they actually are. They're living in one of them right now. So the question is, okay, comes down to money. Number one, comes down to lifestyle. So again, you have these two properties. Let's say they're both worth together, maybe they're worth 600,000, let's say. What are you going to do with that money? And it's not cash money. They still own, like, there's still
there's still a mortgage, right?
Right. So now you're thinking, okay, so what do I do with these two properties? Do I really need to sell? Do I really need to, you know, sell both of them to buy property? If they both are working and they both have very good incomes, they can keep those properties, rent them, use them as collateral, and then go to the bank or to the mortgage broker to say, hey, listen, we have these. And I know, don't take this for face value, but I know with banks right now, or lenders, they don't look at collateral how they used to. They want to know what your income is, because we're in this very volatile time with income and how much income you are making these days because of COVID. They're being very, very cautious. So yes, it helps to have that as collateral, but what they're really going to say, I can't tell you who's going to lend. There's always lenders out there. If it's not a bank, one of the top 5, it might be a B lender. It might be a C lender. So there are all these options that you can have. Depends on how desperately you want this other property. What is your why? Why do you want to move? Is that house too small? Do you want to start a family? There's all great reasons. Maybe they're both not in areas that they're working in. So after you have all those questions, and I've given these, you know, the people that asked me this question, I gave her some homework. I said, number one, tell me what your why is. Number two, what are your finances like? You know, number three, what's your 5-year goal, 10-year goal? Where do you want to be? Do you want to start a family? So they all have something to do with each other. They're all combined. The answers will give you the answer. I can't give you the answer. It's your lifestyle. And, you know, and this is the other thing too that I love about my home buyers. You know, when we go and we look at a house, they go, well, do you like it? I go, it doesn't matter if I like it. You have to live here.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I love every house. Honestly, there's not a house that I don't like because I see potential in everything.
Yeah.
So especially if it's a fixer-up, like you and I also agree on that.
Oh, I love fixer-uppers.
Right. We see potential in that. But again, it's the money. How much money? If you want to buy a fixer-upper, do you have the money? Are you going to sit there and be house poor because you've spent all the money on buying the actual property? And then what?
Yeah.
A tear down. Did you know that if you buy a house that's a total tear down, you can't get a mortgage on that house once the house is gone?
That's correct, yeah.
No, sorry, they don't give you a mortgage on the land.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the land always you have to buy it outright, and there's no mortgage on that. So, so I just want to go back to tell you, and I was looking at something, and I was going to make a point, and I kind of lost it for a second. But
sorry.
One of the things that we also recommend is not only don't get fixated on the down payment. Let's say that for some reason you do have a down payment, maybe your parents, you know, you're fortunate enough to have somebody to help you with that, but also look at what is the closing cost. Is another thing that most people then just don't factor in. Usually it's 3 to 5% of what the house price is. Also the land transfer tax in the GTA is pretty pricey.
And
so
Toronto, don't forget double land transfer tax. So you can, if you have a question about that, you can talk to me and I'll explain that.
But and the other thing as well is moving expenses. So where are you coming from? How much furniture do you have to move? Is somebody going to be able to help you? And then when you come into the house is never going to be exactly what you need. You might need curtains. You might need to, maybe you want to change the color of the house because that's not what you like. Well, maybe you need a couch, or you need to replace your couch because the couch that you have is either too small or too big.
Right. Actually, and you just mentioned something too that's really important that somebody else asked me after they buy a house. You know, I'll get a text or I'll get a message right after the deal closes and they've started to move in.
Yeah.
Then they say, oh, you know what, like the furnace is, you know, making a funny noise. Can we go back to the seller and ask them to fix it? I go, nope. Once you take possession, you own it. It's yours. If something breaks down like the next day,
that's it.
Those are expenses that you have to sort of foresee and have a little bit of a cushion to say, if something does break down, I can repair it. I don't want you to buy a house and then there's no heat, obviously. You know?
And there's also a good point that if you need to do a home inspection. And the home inspection is not only for telling you what is wrong with the house, but also to find out things that you might need to replace in the next 5 years.
Right.
Maybe 2, 3 years. Maybe they tell you, you know what, the roof is okay, but maybe it needs to be replaced in the next 2 to 3 years. So you may want to put aside some money for that. The same for the furnace or the air conditioning. All of those things that are big ticket items, maybe you look at the kitchen and says, oh, okay, that kitchen is not that good. Maybe some of the appliances, if you buy an older house that has appliances, you know, they might give up the next day that you move in.
Right. So, well, and that's why I say, you know, I have my sweet clients that, you know, say, oh my God, I love the house, but I hate the kitchen. We're just going to rip it all out, you know, in the next 5 minutes. And then as soon as you move in, I go, look, please do me a favor.
Yeah.
Believe me when I say this to you, the house is, if it is livable, if the house is in a livable condition, obviously, I say, look, do me a favor, please plan out your first year to do nothing aside from painting. If you want to paint, take out wallpaper, do nothing else, settle in, see if you like the neighborhood, see if you like your neighbors,
Yeah.
see if you like, if your jobs change. Things can happen within that first year that you don't know. If you get, you know, I've had clients where we buy a house and then they say, hey, we're pregnant. I go, oh my God, okay, like, that was fast. Holy, like, it's crazy. So things are sometimes not planned. Sometimes they are planned. But when it comes to renovating and to spending money on a house, just wait it out, settle into the house to see what's going on in the house. If that furnace is totally fine, but it makes some kind of crazy little rattling noise that drives you crazy, then okay, spend the money and change it or get it repaired. But when it's not broken, you know, there are air conditioners, 30-year-old air conditioners that I think are fantastic, that they don't make them that way anymore.
Yeah.
If it works and it's not like sucking all the energy out of the house, don't replace it. Just keep it, you know, wait for a couple bills first and then see if you have to replace it.
Exactly. So yeah, it's always a good idea, because sometimes you don't know what you get yourself into, and it's always the best advice. Just settle in, kind of enjoy what you had, and now you can start saying, oh, well, maybe I can optimize this room or that room or this or that.
Right. Make a plan. Make a plan. Just like your finances, just like everything else, having a baby, make a plan.
Yeah.
So it's not a big surprise.
That's right. So also the same thing. I think that we can answer the question, should you sell or should you buy, is according to your current circumstances and what events are happening to you.
Your lifestyle too. So really, I never recommend people making a lateral move, especially in a time of, you know, just like COVID is really, and I hate to say this because I know the real estate market is so tough right now because there's not a lot of people listing. That's the biggest problem with something like this, when there's supply and demand and there's not a lot of supply. Huge demand because, you know, people can't afford it. But it's this, you know, supply that's not out there. And, you know, when somebody says, okay, I'm going to sell, but then what am I going to do? If they're not downsizing or upsizing, or moving out, you know, moving out of the GTA, let's say, if they want to have a different lifestyle and move away, or even for work, they have to move outside of the GTA. Okay, then that's a good reason. That's a good why.
Yeah.
But I would never recommend doing a lateral move. So if it's about finances and you're paying about the same.
Yeah, just to stay where you are.
Hang in there.
The same thing, you know, there's a few things that can trigger you to move. One of them is divorce, right? Like if you are divorcing and then the other person has, you know, wants to move to another city, or they just
can't afford it. You can't
decide to do that. Then you might be kind of forced to sell, right? But that is a different story.
Or death.
Exactly. The same thing. If you have a larger family and you can no longer stay where you are, then you might have to be forced to buy. So really kind of sit down and then say, do I really have to do either, right? Do I really have to buy? Do I really have to sell, right? Because in times of uncertainty, the best thing is just to sit down and look around.
Just to, and again, you know, you have two people right here that will be honest with you. Even though I'm a real estate broker, I a lot of the times I don't tell people to sell just for that specific reason. Don't tell my brokerage; they probably hate me for saying that, because you know I am a salesperson. I should be selling houses. But that's the thing. I want you to be. It's all about your personal lifestyle and your finances. And I would never recommend selling if you don't have to. So, or if, you know, again, if you don't have to, but if you really want to, your why has to be strong enough to do.
Exactly.
And your finances have to be strong enough.
Of course, you know what? Everything touches finances. Everything everything you do, from your lifestyle, your house, your car, where your kids go to school. It's all about what income you bring into the house, right?
Right. And what's the lifestyle you want from that? So, you know, you can be, you know, someone who doesn't have a lot of income, but then to sustain this kind of lifestyle, that if you're going out for dinner every night, you know, something has to give. That's what Araceli is saying. Like, it's all a balance. So again, don't get scared of the big mountain. we're just
Yeah.
giving advice.
So it is possible, but now with the times that we have and with the prices of properties, you require a lot more planning for a lot longer,
Right.
especially if you don't have the external help.
But the
Some
other thing,
people are very fortunate to have parents or or siblings or some family members that have done well and that they might help you buy a property, or they might have an extra property that they might want to sell you, which is actually fantastic. But if
right.
you're not in that position, it becomes a little bit harder and very overwhelming for people to
Well,
say, no, I'll never buy a house. It is possible. It just requires a lot more discipline, a lot more planning, and a lot longer time. That's all.
yeah. And I think that the one key thing that we didn't talk about is location. So we can't say don't buy a house, because there are tons of houses outside of the GTA that you could probably, again, we're talking to the masses here. If you can work remotely, if you can, there's always going to be, if you, let's say you want to buy a detached house and you need a little bit of help, with the finances, you can rent out the basement, maybe not forever, but for the first few years, just to get your mortgage paid and everything like that. Like, there are things that you can do to get, if your goal, number one goal, is to get into real estate, it's possible, just maybe not the location that you want. So you have to be a little bit flexible. There's tons of people. This is what's happening in the GTA too right now. We hear it, we see it on the news. I listen to my brokerage, and I listen to just the people talking. People are moving out of the GTA and into smaller communities because they can work remotely. There are still communities there. There still are renters there. There still is business out there. So you don't have to be in the GTA if you really just want to buy real estate. Beautiful, like that. This is the best thing about Ontario that I have found in the last few years, being a real estate agent and going outside of the GTA. Amazing, amazing opportunities, amazing, not just neighborhoods, but the communities that are in these neighborhoods, wonderful people. And they want to keep that small town feel. And there's such an abundance of, wanting more people that are like-minded to build the communities. So if that's something that you really want to, have your kids growing up in a smaller area, having your retirement in a smaller area, things like that, there is a great opportunity out there. So don't say never.
Yeah, and I think that if this change in environment and economy is going to bring a lot of opportunities, because if you are able to make the switch and be able to work remotely, then it opens the opportunity for you to be out of the city and maybe have a much better lifestyle when it comes down to a bigger house, if you have a bigger family. So take a look and look at the opportunities. This is basically the message that we want to bring to you today. Look at what is positive happening, because behind every change, there's always an opportunity for you to be better and to look at, how can I capitalize on this? How can I become better and take advantage of what is happening today? So to me, is if you're able to be online, do your work and make as much money as you used to do, then the opportunities are endless now.
Climb that mountain.
Yes, exactly.
All right, I think we're out of time.
Yeah, so, well, if you do have any questions, if you'd like to know how to put a plan together, no plan is too big or too small, just talk to one of us and we'll tell you, what you can do, what you need, and, give you just an opinion, an outside opinion that you may not think about it. So that alone will tell you. We will see you next week. This is a fantastic and awesome week. And I hope you have a mountain to climb just like this, and you climb it soon. Okay?
Small mountain.
Yeah. Okay. So
Have a
nice week. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.